Here's your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is brand new music from the band Stallion. The name of that tune was All In. It's from the Slaves of Time release. And on the line right now, a guy that is all in with Stallion and is all in the world of metal. It is a guitarist of Stallion. It is Axxl. How you doing, man?
I'm doing just fine. How are you guys?
Oh, excellent, Axxl. Well, Axxl, I got to tell you, man, Slaves of Time is not only a great release, but it really seems like the band itself has stepped up its game a lot from the last record, man. So congratulations right off the bat.
Wow, thank you, man. Much appreciated. It felt kind of more natural this time, and I think that's the secret behind it. There's not much else to tell you about it because it was so simple, so easy, so organic to make, and I think that's the magic behind it. Yeah,
sure. Well, and you know, the unique thing with your band, Axxl, is the way that you guys kind of fuse traditional metal or classic metal, as it's known, with thrash. You know, there's a lot of bands that are out there that'll try and do, you know, an 80s sounding thing or a traditional metal type thing or a thrash thing. You guys kind of mix and match all the different styles.
Yeah, also glad to hear that because that's one of our main goals. Because for us, it's not so much about, we don't think so much in genres. It's just the music we like, we listen to. And this is the reflection of that because, we listen to it, so we make music like that, and we don't distinguish too much between speed metal, thrash metal, heavy metal. It's all the same to us. It's just metal. It's just heavy metal. Sure.
Now, how does that work out when you're writing music? Do you come in with a riff, or does somebody else come in with a melody, or how exactly do you write music?
Usually, I come up with the riffs. Sometimes I write the entire song in one session or two sessions, and sometimes I just collect some riffs and melodies and I bring them into the rehearsal room and then we jam along with it. This time I was jamming along with the drummer, so we got the most credits for the music. Okay. And that's usually how it works.
Okay. Now, one thing that I read in the tiny bit of press that they sent us about Slaves of Time is that it's the most serious release that you guys have done. More, and I know that's more of a lyrical question, but it does seem like you've done like so many bands have done these days. You look at the world and you definitely have something to say. So why did you decide to write stuff that was a little more serious and a little more worldly than on previous records?
Yeah. I think it's not a deliberate thing we did. It's just a feeling that you get nowadays if you look around and see what's going on in the world. It's just a darker place than it used to be, at least from the perception point of view. And it's just a reflection of that as well. And you're right. We have something to say about, and there's some things we strongly disagree with. And we have the urge to express that. So maybe this is a little bit more featured on this album, yeah.
Sure. Do you worry when you make a statement, that you might alienate some fans that would gravitate to the band but don't necessarily agree with what you're saying?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, you have those thoughts, you think about it, but for me, it's more important that I can look in the mirror, you know.
Sure.
And if somebody doesn't like us afterwards, that's fine with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the weird thing too is that, you know, back in the old days, and I'm an older guy, but back in the old days, we could have differences of an opinion without it automatically making you hate that person. You know, you could just disagree, and that was it. And it just seems like in today's world, people just don't like to be that way.
That's true. In fact, it's true. Yeah, I think this has a lot of to do with emotionalization of debates. And going away from the more fact-oriented discussion, I think that's the problem. But you're right. It used to be like, I have that opinion, you have this opinion, and you're fine with it, right?
Right.
Doesn't too much anymore.
And that's so true. You know, it used to be, you know, I like this political thing. Well, I like that political thing. All right, well, who cares? Let's talk about Iron Maiden. You know, you would just talk about something else, you know?
Yeah, it's true. That's what I'm saying when I'm saying the darker place, it feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel that easy anymore.
Right. No, you're right, man. And now the one tune that I definitely zeroed in on is the tune Brain Dead, because you really took a good hard shot at people that are letting television, dictate what they believe, what they think. And, it's really kind of a crime, really, that people are so easily led, no?
True. Maybe TV is only a placeholder for other channels you receive information from. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that people don't like to think. They don't like to use the brain. And that worries me a lot. You can Google anything in 3 minutes and check the facts if you just do it. Mm-hmm. But so many people don't do it. And sometimes I'm really puzzled. Why? Just look it up, man. If you're talking about something, get your facts right, go on Wikipedia, go somewhere, and just use your brain. This is what the song about, yeah.
Right, and there's so little truth that comes from a meme on Facebook or Instagram. You almost always have to go and look to be educated.
Sure, it's so short, and the meme is so short. Mm-hmm. How can you transmit any valuable information in that shortness? It's just not possible.
It is. It definitely is. Well, Axxl, for you, I don't want to just talk about politics. So,
sure.
for you specifically, what I love most about your playing on Slaves of Time is the fact that you in a lot of places showcase an absolute love of the classic guitarist sound. And I'll point to a song like Time to Reload as an example.
Yeah.
It is very clear hearing that song that you are a student of the classic players. Do you have people that you look to and were highly influenced by?
Sure, I have those idols. For the guitar sound, for example, I'm really into Accept guitars. Wolf Hoffmann is a big influence on guitar sound mainly. Scorpions, like some of those German 70s hard rock bands is what inspires me for those guitar sounds, actually.
Sure.
Michael Schenker is really inspiration for lead guitar playing. I'm a huge Paul Gilbert fan, so this is something different there, but those are my influences, yes, and it reflects in the guitar sound, of course. It's an 70s Marshall I play, and that's just what comes out of it, right, if you crank it.
Right. Well, yes and no, because sure, the tone might come out of it, but it also has a lot to do with, with the hands and the actual feel of the playing. And that is one of those places that I think you personally are very unique for so many. And it goes back to what we said at the beginning. You play different styles. You play a thrash, roaring riff, and then all of a sudden you'll break out with an 80s solo. You really have found a way to mesh everything without it sounding like pieces, laid in on a song.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I think the secret is that I don't try to be like somebody else, but I'm so influenced by all those 70s and 80s, and I really just listen to that. I don't listen to anything afterwards, so this is the reason why it sounds so much like that, I guess. And it's the everything together combined is maybe what my style is. And it's like Eddie Van Halen once said, if you steal from a lot of people, then you make it your own, right?
Right. Definitely. Do you think, and you as somebody that has listened to, obviously 70s and 80s music, do you think that the older bands that are still going today, like the bands you named, Scorpions, Accept, maybe Metallica, etc. Do you think that those guys are doing the business of heavy metal and hard rock a disservice by not taking out bands that are still doing that style or increasing that style, but are, they don't take them out on tour. Instead, they go with whatever the flavor of the minute is?
Interesting question, yeah. It's something I think about as well sometimes. It's not always true. I know from our friends in Stryker, they opened for Metallica once, but they don't bring him on tour. It's the business thing. You can argue about it a lot, but in the end, business is what makes a band really big. And a big band, I got into metal with Metallica, and if they weren't big in the first place, I would never have listened to the music. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. You can't say business is always bad.
Sure.
And I don't have such a strong opinion about it. Yeah, it would be nice if they bring some cooler new bands with a lot of passion with them, not just about the money. That would be a nice thing, actually. Yeah.
Sure. And I'm 51 years old, so I came up in the 80s and 90s, and I discovered damn near every band that I still listen to today because they were opening for somebody else, whether it was opening for Kiss or Metallica or, and it just seems like in today's world, I mean, not exclusively, and I didn't want to just hammer on Metallica, but it just seems like, well, Lamb of God's the hot band right now, and then they take out whoever is brand new on their label or whoever has money to buy on. It just doesn't seem like they take on the next incarnation. And I think it's what has made metal as a whole kind of go back to the underground a little bit because there's not as much support as there used to be.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate description of the situation. Yeah. It's not much about the art these days anymore. It's true. It's a lot about business. Mm-hmm. And of course, what happens if it goes all mainstream, the people go somewhere else. They go into the underground and go to the niche. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening to us as well. We have our niche with old school metal. And it's not a bad thing. Of course, I would like to tour the US, but we can't because we're not big enough. We are not in this business part so much, but it has some good sides as well because we can work freely with our art. We don't have any pressure from any label, and we don't have to do anything because people expect something. We just do what we love to do. This is really a nice thing to have. So yeah, it has two sides.
Sure. Definitely. Now you mentioned art. I wanted to ask you about the actual artwork on Slaves of Time. I was reading about, unlike most album covers that you see from bands, you guys, you kind of took several songs, the ideas from several songs, and had that turned into the artwork itself. Talk a little bit about doing that, because that's a unique way to do artwork.
Yeah, good you say that, because we didn't think too much about that this way. Okay. We had more of the feeling, of the overall feeling that I told you earlier about this dark time and lots of pressures. And we feel like this is the time where important things happen, and we have to decide now and make big decisions. This is, for example, those Waiting of the Heart in the cover, and you have the planet that is slowly melting in the clock. And yeah, it was more about the overall feeling, and it turned out that the lyrics were the same. So this is why this fits together.
Okay, excellent. Well, Axxl, the new album is called Slaves of Time, and it is a great record. It's one that I would imagine just comes off killer live. What are you guys' plans going forward to tour in support of it, if there are any tours with this coronavirus spreading everywhere?
You're saying it, man. It's a big problem for us at the moment. We are on the release tour only on the weekends, and we play some shows in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Czech Republic. But it turns out, because of the virus, there's already some cancellations. The gig in Czech Republic is canceled, which is, of course, not so funny for us.
Sure.
But I think we reschedule. We just have to see what happens. We have some festivals coming. I don't know if they're gonna happen. So a lot of uncertainties at the moment there.
Sure.
But we are on a release tour at the moment. I just can't tell you if it really happens.
Right. Yeah, it's a scary time, and it's definitely one that, no band could prepare for, because, really in any of our lifetimes, we've never seen anything like this.
True. Yeah, it's such things happen. Now we have to make the best out of it. And of course, bands and promoters, they are going to suffer big time.
Sure. Definitely are. But well, what we'll do is we'll do our part to at least expose people to the new music. It is an album called Slaves of Time. The band is Stallion. And Axxl, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the album, maybe tell us a quick story about it to end the interview. So what would you like to wrap this one up with?
I'd like to wrap this up with Accept Breaker, because it's one of my all-time favorite songs, and it's just so much energy, and that's what I want people to feel when they listen to our album.
All right, well, let's do that then right now. This is Accept with Breaker, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.